Next speaker, Neil, will be delivering his speech number 4 in the Confident Communicator Manual. His speech is entitled, Tuwilla, My Cantankerous Reintroduction into the Workforce. His speech will be 5 to 7 minutes in length. His objectives are, number 1, to use correct words and sentence structure to communicate ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly. Number 2, use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas. And number 3, to use correct grammar. When Neil first began his career, he was righteous and blunt to a fault. He never took into account how someone might perceive his criticism. He was very matter-of-fact and didn't even think that someone's feelings might be hurt by his words. Almost 20 years ago, his wife gave him some good advice. After a confrontation with a labor union shop steward back in Virginia, she advised him, quote, to think about things for 24 hours before delivering negative criticism, end quote. Think about how you will make that person feel. Ironically, today his job is all about people and building cohesive teams. He has realized sometimes it's okay to lose the battle if it allows you to win the war. Neil has realized you can be bold, transparent, and authentic without being sarcastic and mean. He now focuses on building relationships that bring value to all parties involved. Let's welcome Neil.
There's an old saying, no funds equals no fun. And that was the exact situation I found myself in after my first ski season in Utah. My financial future was in a free fall. Thankfully, I landed a job at Walmart as a pharmacy manager. After a brief 2 days of training, I was given the wonderful opportunity to be the pharmacy manager in Tuwilla, Utah for Walmart. Now at the time, I did not even know where Tuwilla was, much less how to spell it or pronounce it. However, just as a dog salivates over a red piece of meat, I was equally eager to avoid the food stamp line. However, there are a multitude of things that I was concerned with as I re-entered the workforce. First, there was the drive from Sandy's East Bench all the way to Tuwilla. And as I passed the huge scar on the earth that locals called Kennecott, I thought to myself, this isn't so bad. But then, things got bad. Things got really bad. You see, I got a whiff of the Great Salt Lake. And for 3 miles along I-80, I was surrounded by a giant fart cloud that was a combination of Limburger cheese and rotten eggs. Now, just as I was beginning to stop worrying about the odor permeating my clothes and my upholstery of my truck, I pulled into the lovely town of Urda. Things now got miserable. You see, Urda is a mecca for chicken farming. The air inside the cab of my truck now transitions from rotten eggs and Limburger cheese to the sharp, tangy, pungent odor of fresh chicken manure. Now, the concept of food stamps was beginning to appeal to me, and I had not even set foot in the pharmacy. Now, as I walked around the parking lot in Walmart, as I walked around the parking lot, I reassured myself, I wanted to reassure myself that I did not reek of rotten eggs, Limburger cheese, or chicken manure. And I realized I was nervous. I was really nervous. I was more nervous than a cat trying to bury poop on a hot tin roof. And I had no idea why. I rationalized to myself that, well, the store is located close to the chemical depot, they've been incinerating mustard and nerve gases, and I was pretty sure that all my customers that day were going to have 3 heads. Now, eventually I worked up the courage to enter the pharmacy, and I was greeted by giant fly strips hanging from the ceiling, full of dead flies. Now, no one ever accused me of being high and mighty, I was appalled to see dead flies in a pharmacy. Next, it was time to meet the staff. My technicians for the day were Carrie and Teresa. Now, I didn't want to come off as highfalutin, but I did comment on the dusty shelves, I commented on the fly strips, and I suggested that maybe we change the fly strips out so people don't just think we're dispensing drugs out of the inside of a barn. Now, that comment was met by a snicker and a grimace. And I realized I hadn't been there for 15 minutes, and already they thought I was the Prince of Darkness. Now, following their grimacing and sneering, when that finally subsided, I began to notice their work ethic, or lack thereof. You see, these women did a whole lot of chatting and not much working. And it's okay in my mind to go ahead and have, to be chit-chatting with the customers and show empathy to your pharmacy customers. Those all exemplify great customer service traits. However, when you have diarrhea of the mouth and consistently give a dissertation on your weekend's activities to every customer that walks into the pharmacy, it can become quite annoying. Now, their lackadaisical, comatose way that they went about completing their tasks was infuriating to me. What took them 30 minutes took me 5 minutes. They were moving at a pace slower than an articulation. At the time, I did not self-identify myself as a type A, driven type personality. I thought everybody was like me. Coincidentally, I thought everybody liked me. And if you didn't like me, I rationalized it was because you probably hadn't spent enough time with me yet. However, Carrie and Teresa not only weren't like me, they despised me. Now, I knew I had to build a relationship with these women to make this job a success. So I gradually began extending an olive branch to them, showing them easier ways to complete their tasks that would make them more efficient. They, in turn, gradually introduced me to their customer base, and my relationships with my customers began to blossom. Customers bought me coffee so I wouldn't fall asleep on my long drive home. And I began to realize that practicing pharmacy in a small town was much different than in a big city. Carrie and Teresa taught me to slow down and enjoy life. I realized that you could be transparent without being sarcastic and mean. I began to realize that it was possible to build sustainable relationships within the workplace. I began to care about people in a more deep, meaningful way. Although my Walmart career was brief, I was able to build relationships from Roy all the way to Price. Ironically, Walmart kept me out of the food stamp line, and they set me on a path of fiscal responsibility. More importantly, the team members showed me the significance of focusing on what we have in common rather than what our differences are. Teresa and myself and Carrie were able to build a sustainable relationship. We were able to bury the hatchet. My hope going forward is to have all my relationships bring value to all parties involved. By assuming that everyone has good intent, I believe we can build authentic, transparent relationships that will further our business needs. Thank you.